Hello everyone, good morning. This is Dora, the Fluid Crafter, and we are working in our steampunk apocalyptic type thing that I'm making journal. It's going to be very unique. It's not going to be your average junk journal. It's going to be quite different. And so I was thinking, as a crafter, if an apocalypse came, what would be some of the things that I would be in search for? Like, of course, food, survival, things of that stuff. Yes, absolutely. But as a crafter, I mean, what would the first store that I hit up be? Hobby Lobby? I know that sounds crazy, but or would it be Joann's for fabrics? Or would it be Michael's? Or would it be, something like that? Or would, you know, um, what would be something that a crafter would carry around with them on a daily basis? So, normally in an apocalyptic situation, you would have someone that carries something that they can keep recipes, like survival recipes that they could cook outside, because, or on over a fire, because there would be no electric, so or gas. You wouldn't be able to cook on a stove or in a microwave. You would have to do it over a fireplace or on a grill. If you could find enough um, um, gas things, whatever those you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So yeah, so in that respect, survival, Boy Scout type, Girl Scout type things, more on along the lines of Boy Scouts. Though I was in Girl Scouts, we were never taught how to tie knots. We were never taught how to do those things. We were never taught how to whittle. We were never taught, but the Boy Scouts, they were taught. So, Boy Scout guides or survival guides, sure. Maps, absolutely. Um, Food that you could cook over the fire that would be simple and easy. Canned goods, that have a really long shelf life, how to can. Things like that, yes, all that stuff would be included. However, I wanted to do something different and think along the crafter side of it. Someone who has been crafting their whole life and then all of a sudden just gets shoved in to this apocalyptic world. And so they have been doing this for, let's say, a year. Okay. Well, after the year, they've got the survival down. They've got gardening down. They've got growing their own food. They've got, how to survive along those lines. But then their creative side starts kicking in and they want to start creating again. What are some of those things that they would keep and cherish, or to look for, or to guide them, to be able to do those things? Okay, so let's try and do something like that. So I have my signatures all set out. Now I'm only using, these are pretty much the same. I'm using the kit, the papers from the kit, but I'm just using some tea-dyed papers and a few, not many, a few eco-dyed papers. So these would look like, let's say, you go to a stationery store or something because you want something to write on. Well, the pages are going to look like they've been, there's water been soaked on them, or they've been, sitting and just collecting age on a shelf or something. So that's the purpose of these. Not so much to look like they've, been eco-dyed, but a few of those pages are in here. And then I have a few pages of scrapbook paper. Now, only a few, and it just kind of ties in that steampunkish type feel. So I have included a couple of those in here, and there's another one of those eco-dyed papers. So there's that. And then I put in one of these crossword puzzle pages from the newspaper, from the paper studio, just to kind of give it a different feel, something to do during your time, whatever. And then, of course, the circle letters that are very in the steampunk type thing. And then, of course, the science page and cars. The old T-model cars are huge for steampunk, so I put those in there. And there's another one of the eco-dye pages. Okay, so we've got 4 signatures. Now, these 4 signatures are going to get a little bulky, so I didn't want to add more than these. Now, I might, for ease of page flow, I might split these up into smaller signatures. There'll be more, but it'll be the same amount of pages, if that makes sense. So we're going to just see how it goes. So for the first section here, what I like to do when I'm laying out what I would like to be into each signature is I would like for this to flow like the beginning of this is, okay, oh crap, this big thing just happened and there's no electric, there's no water flowing, you know, anything. So what's the first thing you do? Well, first thing that I would start collecting would be, let me move some of this stuff out of the way here. Some of this is just decorative ephemeras and things. First thing that I would probably get my fingers on to keep are photos. Now, these photos are from a vintage book that my brother gave me. They are the original photos. You can see the writing on the back of the page where it was in the book. And so some of these are just maybe family pages, family things. This here is a vintage little car, and I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not, that was found, and it's all dirty and rusty, so I thought that would go well. And then we have some adventurers in these 2 pages, maybe a little brother or a sibling. Here's a whole group family that's camping. Here's a lady holding up her house, you know. So these little pieces I thought would go very well with this type of book. You know, maybe some family photos that you wanted to keep, and along those lines. So I would be grabbing some personal items that I wanted to keep. So photos would probably be one of those things. The next thing that I would probably start grabbing would be maps. And so on these maps, what I've done is I've cut them down as if, you know, they've been, you know, torn or whatever from people looting and all those types of things. And so what I did on this one is, and I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but there's highlighter marks, there's green, yellow, and orange, and I've circled 3 areas. So you got supplies, water, and food. So you can go to these places to find these items. On this one, I have a black line. This one here says home. So this is home base. And this one here is danger. Okay, so this one here is probably a lot of looting, a lot of maybe shootings or killings, and I hate to say it in that manner, but you know what, if we were put to an apocalypse, it's probably going to happen to some people. So I just put danger here, like stay away from that area. This area here is a big city area, so you know, maybe something like that would happen. This is just another map that is blank that someone else can write on. And then this one here, I just did a little black line and then 2 little green and yellow dots there to indicate something. So there's that. I would do maps, of course. And then I would gather up and get these, and let me find the other ones really quick. I have a vintage, oh, there's another little photo that I left out. I have a vintage gardening book, and so I have collected, or I pulled out, cut out these pages from the gardening book, which is Common Botanical Names. It has the picture of the image here of the flower, the bush, or seedlings, whatever the case may be. It tells you what it is, what it's good for, how you cut it, separation, all that kind of stuff. So I thought that would be something, that I would do if I'm learning how to garden or trying to, figure out how to grow my own food. So I have a couple of those in here. And then I also have a couple of pictures. Now I haven't inked these up yet, but I have a couple pictures of fruits and veggies, how to protect your young plants, which is always good. And then I also have these here little snippets. So it tells you when to plant them, it tells you how many weeks it takes for germination, and how to do transplants if you wanted to do those. And so I have a couple of those. And then, of course, you have your names, the areas that you can find them in, and the seasons that they bloom. And then you have the colors of them, how they taste if you were to eat them, and then, of course, a rating. And then you have what would happen if maybe a couple of them went bad, how you can indicate, infections or things like that, not to eat them. And then, of course, you have your how to control pests and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that would be cool to put in there as well. And so then I have some of my German music. Here is another piece of that eco-dyed paper that I'm going to be putting in there. And then I thought also that, and this is just my concept here, I'm going to be putting in this, it's from a magazine, and it's just a little corn maze. Give you something to do if you're out walking in the woods or camping somewhere. And here's another crossword puzzle out of a magazine, just something to do. And then I also thought that because currency money would be obsolete, right? So for currency, or if you were going to buy or exchange from someone, you would have to have some type of currency, right? So I have these sales receipts, and I thought, well, sales receipts are in stationery stores all the time. So if you can get your hands on these and collect them, then you can use these as some type of currency or some type of exchange with other people. And then I've got a couple of these magazine pullouts, which is maybe the house that I'm living in was destroyed, but this here reminds me like a nostalgic of where I lived at, and so I wanted to keep this. So I've got two of them. So there's a kitchen side on that one, and then this side here is of a living room, which is absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to be putting that in there. And then here is another one, a little picture of art and things, some pottery, maybe just to kind of remind you of that aspect of it. And then I also grabbed, let me move that over. I also grabbed some of my Tim Holtz papers that I've been hoarding forever. This here is of different types of rulers and sewing measurement tapes. Thought that would be cool to have, especially if you're sewing yourself. Here's some travel ephemera. Here is some vintage advertisement ephemera. Here, I love this one. This is very steampunkish. It's all the mechanicals and gears and things of that nature for a clock. Here is a vintage receipt. It looks more like a what do they call them? Not ledger. And here is a travel piece of ephemera. Here is another ledger. And then here is some vintage advertisements along with some photos. So I thought these would be really cool to use in here as well. And then we have our ephemera pieces from the kit that will be added in there as well. And then I found this piece of scrapbook paper that has clocks on it. And so I wanted to add this in there as maybe a flip out or a tuck or something like that. And then I have these ephemera pieces that are, these little ones are stamped images that I have just cut out, and then some advertisements. And so we have another little stamped piece here with another advertisement for keys. This one here has got a few in it. So we've got some advertisements here. Now, if you wanted to do letters and stuff, you could still use a typewriter because it's not electrical. You would just have to find the ribbons for it or find a way to use your own ink. Okay, and so then we have some currency, sewing machines. We have some farmers' air flight where they dust their crops, some vintage picture ephemeras, and then a little postcard. So we have those. So those I wanted to add in there as well. Then we have some children's music, which is Mary Had a Little Lamb, Baa Baa Black Sheep, maybe some nostalgic for when you were younger. Things were a lot simpler. And then I have a couple of clock ephemera pieces, which I've had got forever. A little advertisement here. Another advertisement. And then I have, now these are from a vintage book that I have. And I just made copies of them because I wanted to keep the original book as intact as I could. These here are diagrams of machines. And so I thought these would be super cool to put in here for anyone that may need to build something that was not electronical but ran off of water, steam, coal, something like that, because that's basically what these machines would run off of. So I put those in there. And then I also found which I've been looking for forever, is the Tim Holtz vintage photos of people. And so I thought maybe a few of these in here along with the other pictures that I've collected would be really, really cool. So I've got those. And then of course I've got Tim Holtz, which some of these are cut out, but they are the letters, numbers, and the one that has like the circus stuff on it. So I've got all these little tidbits that I can, add in here somewhere. And then, you've got the little advertisements and the circus and the ships and the casinos and all that kind of stuff in here. So I thought that would be really cool. And yeah, so that's where I am as far as collecting the ephemera pieces and whatnot. Now, this first section would be like, it says Apocalypse right on the front, and it has the nice balloon. So I was thinking the very first section of this I would probably make for survival, right? So that would include, knot tying, camping, things of that nature. So I do have a old Boy Scout book that I'm going to do in this first little section here, which would be through to about here, which would be halfway. And then on the back side of this, which is where the camera is, I would put into gardening, or to put in you know what I'm saying, like gardening, food, cooking, stuff of that nature. I think that's what I'm going to do in that one. And then the second one, you just go further along. So it would be in sections and not, because I feel, and yes, I'm talking a lot in this video, not really doing a whole lot because I'm just kind of letting you guys know where I'm going with it. And so it'll be in sections. So you'd have two sections here: survival, gardening, food, and then you would have sewing and maybe clothes making, stuff like that, whatever. And then this one would be like maps, where to find, where to go, where to travel, where not to travel, any type of travel in that nature. And then back here would be like family photos, nostalgic type things of that nature, blah blah. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking. So in the next video, when this comes out, now you could probably find dies and die cutting machines because they're not electric. That would be really cool. I would probably hoard them. So yes, and so we could do die cuts. We could do things like that in here because you would be able to use that machine if we were thrown into an apocalypse. So that's my idea. Let me know what you think below, and like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. And in the next video, we will actually get down to the nitty-gritty, and we will start decorating. And I won't talk as much, and we'll just be doing some decorating, and we'll just see how it goes. All right, guys, thanks for joining in. Thanks for listening to my ideas, and I hope you like them. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye now.